everyone, and welcome to our 8th dialogue for this year on women in construction. And today we are going to discuss how to navigate today's job market in the construction industry, meaning job hunting. And we have 4 guest speakers. To start with, we will have our engineers, Dr. Juliana, who, again, we have Engineer Opendo and Dr. Agustina, as well as Dr. Mara Victoria Hellman, who is also chairperson for TAWA. To moderate this discussion today, I will be myself, Siti Shawia, together with my colleague Bahati Zongo, who will be joining us shortly. Without further ado, I think we can start by short history of this program, mentoring program that was launched in September 2019 with the aim of helping young women students in construction industry to make a smooth transition from school towards the job market. And with this, we have help from different women professional in the industry experience, mentoring students or young students, graduates into the industry. Dialogue is just one of the platforms whereby women in construction try to interact and share their history with young female professions. There are so many other activities whereby TAWIC engage with these young professionals. So for today, without further ado, I think I would like first to welcome Dr. Engineer Dr. Juliana Palangio, who is the founder and senior energy consultant at Jenny Energy Consulting Firm. And she's also a former deputy personal secretary of Ministry of Energy and Minerals. To start with, Dr. Juliana will give us a self-introduction and sharing a bit of a story and the roles that mentors played in shaping her career as an engineer. Dr. Juliana, karibu sana.
Very much. Yeah, I'm Dr. Engineer Juliana Palangio, a founder and CEO of Geni Energy Consulting Firm in Tanzania. I was a former Deputy Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Energy and Minerals. And I worked also with Tanzania Electric Supply Company at various capacity for more than 40 years. I have really vast experience in the energy sector. I hope I will make these days as mentor to the young engineers useful. I am also recognized by International Federation of Engineers Education Societies and Global Engineering Deans Council, championing excellence and inspiring engagement in engineering profession as a distinguished and highly respected African woman leader in engineering from Tanzania, to author a chapter to the successful book series, which is being done in each continent. The book is Rising to the Top Africa. Yeah, that's some. Thank you.
Our next person is Engineer Dr. Agustina Alexandra, who is the head of Department of Water Resources Engineering at the University of Dar es Salaam. Karibu sana, Dr. Agustina. Hello, Dr. Agustina.
Yes, I can hear you. Habari za Chana. Thank you so much, Siti, for this opportunity. I also want to thank all the organizers for giving me this rare opportunity to speak with women in construction in this dialogue. So as I've been introduced, my name is Engineer Dr. Agustina Clara Alexander. I work at the University of Dar es Salaam as a lecturer, but also head of Department of Water Resources Engineering. So by profession, I'm a civil and water resources engineer, registered as a professional engineer with Tanzania Registration Board, and have about 13 years of experience in teaching, research, consultants in water-related field. So I'm also a member of some of the professional institutions. I'm a member of Africa Groundwater Network. I'm also a member lecturer, and also I head the Department of Water Resources at the university. I have about 13 years of experience in teaching, consultants, and research in water-related fields. But I'm also a member of some of the professional institutions like the IHP, which is an Intergovernmental Hydrological Program, the National Committee. I'm also a member of African Groundwater Network, the area that I majored when I was doing my PhD. So in today's dialogue, very excited to be part of it and to be able to speak with young women, especially those who are trying to find their place in this career. So thank you very much for having me. I hope you have a successful dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Agustina. Our next person on board, please, I would like to introduce Engineer Upendo J. Haule, who is currently the chairperson of Institute of Engineers Tanzania Women Chapter and also the organizer of this program. She's also working for Tanzania Telecommunication Company as an optimization engineer. Please.
Thank you. Thank you, Engineer Madam Zongo, and my great pleasure to all organizers of this workshop. As the former presenter has stated about me, my name is Engineer Upendo Haule. I work with TTCL, Telecommunication Company. I'm a professional engineer. By education, I'm an electrical engineer, but by education, I'm an electrical engineer, but professionally, I'm telecom engineer, and I've been in telecom industry for more than 17 years. And mostly been working with TTCL for more than 17 years in different sections, basically specializing on design and implementation projects and network operations and maintenance, performance and maintenance. And with all this, I'm also a member of IET, Institution of Engineers Tanzania, as well as I'm a member and a professional engineer registered with ERB, Engineering Registration Board. As well with IET, I'm the chairperson of Women Engineers for this season for 2022-23. And with today's dialogue, I'm expecting to mentor the young graduates and engineers who are seeking job in different criteria in reference to sharing my experience of how I've ventured all the way to where I am. And I hope they'll benefit a lot from this workshop, and from the benefit, they can now find how suitably they can venture into different careers according to their dreams and wishes. Thank you, coordinators and preparations committee.
Thank you very much, Engineer Haule. Thank you. Our last panelist, she's the only architect in the panel today. I would like to welcome Dr. Architect Victoria Mara, who is also the Managing Director of Alama Architecture and the co-founder of TAO Tanzania. And she's a program coordinator of this program, as you see. Welcome, Architect Victoria.
Thank you, Bahati. Good evening, everyone. My name is Victoria Marua Heilman. I am an architect practicing in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. And I started my journey from academia to practicing architecture to working in an NGO. So today I look forward to learning from you all, and I hope we'll get time to share our stories, because I really want to share the way I started in architecture and where I am today. For me, when I started my education from primary school to high school, I'd never heard the word architecture. I did not know until I finished high school. That's when I heard the architecture. So all the time when I was studying, my goal was to be a medical doctor. So in high school, I took PCB classes, and I was really hoping to get into the School of Medicine in Dar es Salaam. But very unfortunately, I did not get good grades to get in there. But I was selected to join a college in Mtwara to be a medical assistant. But if I decided to take that route, it would take me 7 years to get a first degree in medicine. Then I felt like, that's not an option. But after finishing, and I was ready to explore different other opportunities rather than medical school, another opportunity came my way. I got a job to work as a receptionist at TANESCO head office. So I worked at TANESCO head office as a receptionist for about 2 years. And I was happy and enjoying my salary and at that young age and staying at home. But one of my uncles, who was teaching at UCLAS then, and he was teaching land management and evaluation. So he was the one who introduced me to architecture. He told me that when you become an architect, you'll be rich. And that is something that I was interested in. But trust me, until today, I'm still waiting for that. But I do not regret being an architect. And it was a journey that I think, when we talk about mentors, these are the people who come our way and help us decide or think about things that we want to do. So in 1996, I said goodbye to TANESCO. I went to school. And my 5 years at RD University, he was like my mentor and my cheerleader, I would say. Because when I finished, he looked at my grades and said, I think you can apply to teach at the university. But by then, teaching was not an option to me. I never thought that I would teach, or I would even stand in front of the class and teach students. That was something I never thought I'd be able to do it. But following his advice, I decided that, okay, I'll go for teaching, because one of the things that he used to convince me is that I'll be able to get scholarships. And if I'm interested to go for further studies, then that could be an opportunity for me. So I took that. And luckily, I was able to get scholarship to study my master's and PhD while I was teaching at RD University. So another story that I wanted to share today about mentoring is that when I was doing my master's at Catholic University in Washington, DC, that was my first time to be outside the country. And it was extremely difficult. Everything was new to me. And when you get outside your country, it's expected that you know all the basic survival skills. I did not have. So it was frustrating, and I felt like I started feeling homesick. But what I did, I reached out to my academic advisor. I asked him if there is a student from Tanzania or from Africa, from anywhere where I think if I meet somebody from where I come from, maybe that person will understand what I'm going through. So he knew a person from Tanzania, born in Tanzania, but he stayed in Washington, DC for a very long time. So he made sure we met, but without him, I think we did not have anywhere where we could meet, because he was I mean, she was in a different schedule. She was working and studying part-time, and I was studying full-time. So when we met, she became my peer mentor, and she would talk about Kiswahili, kuko chapati, and all these kind of things. And she made my life very comfortable in Washington, DC. And until today, she's my mentor. And when I went for my doctorate in Germany, that was also a different story compared to what I experienced before. Doctorate degrees in Germany, they have a bit different system, at least in my university, was a bit different. That you expected, you're a researcher, you know what you're doing, and it's expected that you work with your supervisor and present to committees. But in other universities, it's there is a system where they will support you from where you write your proposal to when you're defending your thesis. So it was a bit different, and that's not what I expected. So then that challenge, I had to think of somebody who could help me out. So I contacted my former lecturer at Aridi University. He taught us research methods when I was in undergrad. When I told him that this is the challenge I face, and all I wanted is for him to be officially recognized by the university and paid as academic, as my supervisor. But then he was retired by then. And then he said, oh, I don't think, well, university said, I don't think he can be your supervisor because he's not in academia. So I told him. And I was also shocked. They said, you know what, don't worry, I don't really want to be paid, but I will help you, but be prepared to work. From there on, I kept on working and successfully finished my thesis with his help. So looking back to the 17 years that I worked at Aridi University and studying, and I was able to accomplish a number of things. I got married, 2 children, starting my own firm, starting an NGO, publishing and doing all those things. So I got to a time where I felt like, I think I need to change what I'm doing. And I wanted to go more into community work. As working with NGOs, I wanted to work with people in rural areas where I believe they need our service, but they cannot afford. So my PhD supervisor, or my mentor, was the first one to know. Initially, I thought I was crazy, but after I spent much time, and he helped me to look at my decision in different ways, and that I eventually convinced him that this is what I want to do. So he supported me. I left my teaching job, focused my energy in my community work through Tower, and continue with my firm. So I am telling this story today. I know it took a little bit more time. I am telling this story today because I want our mentors to understand that when you face any challenges, you are in a situation, you need help, you have to ask. Because there are people out there and ready to help, but they need to know you need help. And if there is somebody devoting time, because they go out of their way to help you, then you have to be on top of everything. You have to show some, that you respect their time. I think that's a key thing. And lastly, I also wanted to talk about, to start thinking. Yes, you have your degree, or you will have your degree soon, but what is the impact of your degree to people around you, or to your community, or to your family, or to your country? So these are the things that I think we need to start thinking and take advantage of the mentoring program that we have. Thank you.
I would like to welcome Dr. Engineer Mama, who is our mama actually, Juliana. Please, can you tell us a little story about yourself, about how you came about to be a doctor? Because I'm also aspiring to be one, but I'm not sure if I'll be able. So please, can you give us an inspiration, please? Karibu sana, Mama.
Asante sana. Yeah, my story is a little bit not the same like from the previous speaker. I started very early in going to primary school, as I followed my brother who was enrolled. So I cried a lot wanted also to be enrolled, although I was very young. I was about 4.5 years old. So because I insisted of staying at the primary school as the standard one, they accepted me, knowing that I would get tired and I will leave. But fortunately, I excelled. I went through with my brother, and I was very bright, very, very fortunate. Then my father was a policeman, and he was moving on and off a lot. So we were taken back to our grandmother in the village. I started there, and by that time, it was you have to pass standard 4 to going to standard 5. So I was one of them, and I passed from standard 4 to standard 5, going to a boarding primary school in Buhangija, somewhere in Shinyanga area. As I said, I was very small. I couldn't even wash my own clothes. So while there, they had to call my father, who was now in Moshi, and told him that I can't even wash my own clothes because my grandmother was doing everything for me. So I had to be taken out of the boarding school, and I went to Marine Primary School in Moshi, where I went up to standard 7, and then I went to secondary school. As Hellman has said, Vicky, my aim or ambition was to be a doctor as well, medical doctor, but very unfortunate, it wasn't like that. By that time, when I was growing up, jobs were not a problem. And I was selected to join Dar es Salaam Institute of Technology, by then it was DIT, to take aircraft technician. It was a government sponsorship, but luckily my uncle was working with Tanzania Electric Supply Company as an instructor at the Dar es Salaam Technical Institute, owned by TANESCO. He said, why don't you come this way? Here you are getting a certificate for 3 years, and at TANESCO you will be getting a diploma. Why don't you come here? So I was interviewed as well, and I passed, and I went there. The challenges I got. I came from a modern secondary school. Those guys we had, I was the only female, first of all, out of 16 students in electrical department. And most of them, they came from job training, and some of them, they came from technical secondary schools. The first day at the workshop, it was very, very sad for me, because the instructor was asking us, we are given a toolbox, and you have to show. Can you show how many screwdrivers you have there? I didn't even know what is a screwdriver. So I started looking at my neighbor. If he raises something, then I do the same. In the evening, I came and told my uncle, I think this is not the right place for me. I think I have to go back to DIT. That's the right place, because all of us there are new. He said, no, don't worry. Work hard. It's like that. The first 3 months, they're very, very difficult. Just learn. I said, my goodness, after I'm the only female. Anyway, I worked hard. You won't believe it. But first semester, the second semester, I was the best student. So I ended up, I finished with flying colors there, and I was retained there as an instructor at the TANESCO Technical Institute, teaching all first year department students for all 4 departments. There were 4 departments. There were electronics, electrical, mechanics, and auto design. So I was an instructor for just 1 year. Then I was married, and my husband was transferred to Bukoba. Then I left and joined TANESCO as a normal employee. It was a system by that time in TANESCO for those who did well to pursue further studies. So because my husband was in Bukoba, and it was very far to Dar es Salaam to to process the studies, for my studies. So I stayed in Bukoba for almost 8 years. Then my husband was taken to transferred to Uganda as training team commander. There he was in the military, he was a lieutenant captain, he was a colonel by that time. And then after the end of his tenure, he came back and was transferred to Dar es Salaam. That was the time then I had time also to come to Dar es Salaam and pursue my studies. So I went to Germany. I studied in Germany. It was hell the first week. I had, of course, to undergo a German language. I passed and I started studying. It was the same as when I was a technician at the technician level. I was the only student, and mind you, an African. All more than 70 were men. African students as men were very few, not more than 10, but from other countries, not from Tanzania. The first week when we sat in the lecture room, nobody came near me. I said, my God, how can I survive? So very fortunately, there was a seminar after 2 weeks of our studies. After starting our studies, it was organized by the Evangelical and Catholic Church. So I went there. They were asking us the first impression we got for the German. I said, my God, if I sit somewhere, nobody sits near me, and I'm the only female, how can I pass? How can I pass? Because of talking. They laughed a lot, but they said German are reserved. And if they have friends, they just want to remain with the same friends. So you have to mix, you have to go to them, find your way out, talk to them. At the end, they will accept you. That's what I did. And by the third year, we were not more than 20 students, and I was still there. By the end of the 5th year, we remained 14 who graduated timely. I was among them. So to young girls, young graduates, you have to have that compassion. You have to have that determination, that will that you can. I did it and I came. I speak perfect German and I'm proud of it. I came back to Tanzania, and of course the sponsorship I get was through my employer, TANESCO. So when I came back, there were some frictions. When I was studying, you know, in Germany, you take a deep Eng. Deep Eng is engineering with masters on top of it. When I started the master's program because it goes on, it rolls on. It doesn't stop somewhere. When I was there. Nowadays, I think I heard there are some universities whereby there is a degree and then master's, but Deep Eng was 1 or 2 in 1. So I had some problems with my employer who said, why am I taking masters without a consent from my employer? So you see, I was dismissed while studying. But I said, it doesn't matter. I studied, I finished up, I came back, I went to court, I was reinstated. But it wasn't easy. I'm just telling you this so that you know, if you see somebody at the top, he hasn't got, it isn't easy, just like that. People work, cry, laugh, and all in one. But very fortunate, as I went back to TANESCO, I worked, I went through a lot of programs. I was a planning engineer at the TANESCO Kinondoni district. I stayed there for almost 3 years or 4, and then I was transferred to head office. When they started this education department, I was among them. We went through the whole of Tanzania, making the database for the rural rare energies, which is now electrifying the whole villages in Tanzania. We did it. And the first, of course, the tenders for the first companies which did the work before REA took place, before it was shifted to REA, we did it. And there are a lot of programs and work I did in TANESCO. But as I'm telling you, young girls who are listening to me, determination. And what kept me up to now, kept me surviving, is the strong will I have. I'm telling you, I always see a bright future in front of me, always. And if there's something wrong comes, I always say, God, why this? I think you are taking me to another level. To me, I utilize those issues, failures, or problems I had to an opportunity. Wherever I got a problem, I was always thinking the other way, the alternative. In case I fail this, why shouldn't I do this? Fortunately, I just want, then as I was there, I do a lot of, I have an angel. I do a lot of, I help a lot of girls who are having problems. And this, I got it from Germany. We founded an NGO called Karibuni Freude-Kreis Tanzania in Deutschland, where we help young girls who have problems in all aspects. Yeah. From this, what I was doing, I was nominated from one of their universities that I have to write an essay and thesis on that, and that's where I got my PhD. Now, I'm a consultant, but from TANESCO, I was picked to be Deputy Permanent Secretary. I was a principal there, and I did big projects for the company, the Nyerere hydropower. I was the one who started it, of course, from the point of view from the president's advices, and that we were the ones who did the first designs and all the paperwork, consultants and all those. Also the pipeline, I was there in Uganda, where we did the negotiation to get the pipeline coming to Tanzania. That is a short story. And as I'll be waiting, I'll remain waiting for your questions in case of anything. Thank you very much.
Welcome, Dr. Engineer Agustina.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, it's an honor to share my journey with the young women in this in construction. Of course, every journey is different. And of course, mine would somehow relate to others. And it's important that these young girls have someone they can relate to and therefore motivate them to go higher and higher. So for me, I would say I was born in a very average family. My father was a businessman and my mother was working as an accountant. And so none of them was an engineer, an interest on STEM subjects, and therefore they supported me quite a lot when it comes to STEM subjects. And at a very young age, I really liked, I was good in mathematics as compared to other subjects. So it wasn't a challenge for me. I liked mathematics. Then in primary, we had other subjects like history and all. So it wasn't difficult for me to like or to major in STEM. But my family went further, and therefore they looked for help when I started secondary school, someone who could help me with STEM subjects. And this was a guy who had just finished A-level and he was waiting to join the university. So he was coming maybe 3 times a week to help me with physics and mathematics. And this is where my turning point of came in, because as I was growing up, I really wanted to be a doctor, just like what Dr. Victoria was saying. Me growing up, I found doctor as a noble profession. Imagine when you get sick, you're taken to a doctor and the second day you're fine. So to me, all I would think about was to become a doctor. But after meeting this one person who was helping me, he was then selected to join a course, engineering. So when he came back after 1 year, he was sharing with me that the class that he's doing, there are no women in that class. So from there, my determination changed. I wanted to join engineer. I wanted to prove that women can do it as well. So I think that's where the turning point came in. So I changed from being wanted to be a doctor to wanted to be an engineer. And of course, I didn't know all these disciplines of engineering. So I completed my O-level and then joined the A-level, and later on I was selected to join the University of Dar es Salaam to do civil and water resources engineering. So during my time at the university, I tried to do my best in both subjects and try to gain the confidence of the lecturers and the supervisors who were teaching us. And therefore, I think I had some kind of support from them, even after completing my studies. So at least they had confidence and trust in me that I was an able student. So after, I mean, I'd received a number of awards during my bachelor degree. So from Engineering Registration Board, the ministry, at the university level, at the college level. So, I mean, I tried to do my best. So when we were, I think it was the last semester, one of the companies called Schlumberg came to the university. They were looking for people who they could join them. So they had an interview, and I just ran into an interview. I didn't even know that we are going to do an exam and all that. Just my friends just picked me on the way, and we went there. And out of 200 students almost who did the exam, out of them, 12 were selected for one-on-one interview, and I was among them. And out of 12, 3 of us were selected to join the company. So my job hunting story is quite different. So after that, when others were looking for a job, for me, I went straight home and said, maybe I need time to stay with my family before I could join this international company. And by then I didn't, before I left, the head of department back then called me and say I needed to apply for a master's. You know, in my mind, I know I'm going to work with Schlumberg, an international company. I'll be paid in dollars, so you could see all the excitement. I didn't want to apply for a master's, but again, these are the people I have. I trust them, and I had to comply. So I applied for a master's and went home. And as I was waiting to be called to join this company. And after 2 months, they had not called me or anything. So one of the supervisors called me. By then, I mean, he's still the chairman of the Tanzania Registration Board, Professor Lema. He called me and he was, Agustina, did you left? He said, no, they haven't called me back. I said, oh, this type of company, it might take you 6 months before they call you in. So what are you doing? Say, no, I'm just at home. I was thinking of looking for a job. Say, okay, come back. Let me talk to your heads of department and see if there was something you could be doing. And then by then they were starting a professorial chair for water and it's at my department. So immediately they said, okay, let's her come in and work here as she waits to join the master's. So yeah, then I had to work there for like 2 months and then I started master's in the department. So by then also we were waiting for, we had also applied for teaching assistants at the university and we were still waiting to be called. So you could imagine I'm still waiting whether the Schlumberg will come back to me, and I also wait for the university whether they are going to call me for the teaching assistant. And in my mind, I never see myself as a teacher or a lecturer in that case. So it was not something that I was giving much thoughts. But the Schramberg people took their time before they could call me. So the first chance to come was the teaching assistant at the university. And it took me like a month before I could sign the contract. And I went to another supervisor of mine and asked, should I sign in this or the other one? That's where the mentorship came, and he was like, oh, so you want an international job? Yeah, but you know this, you'll be moving, you need to be able to balance what you want. And I wanted to have a family, I wanted to have kids. And he said, if this is really what you want, I don't know whether the international job is for you. You'll be moving a lot, and probably, why don't you just take the university? And at any time you can just leave and do, when opportunity comes, and do something else. So I had to end in the contract. And I tell you, the day that I end, I think it was just after coming out from the head of department office, I got a call from the Schramberg asking me whether I can join. And I didn't even think, I just said no. I just took another job, and I'm no longer interested. So from there, I started working at the university. From my master's, I told you I wanted to have a family, so I got married, and I had 2 kids by 2013. But when I was pregnant with my second child, another opportunity also knocked to my door. And there was another doctor who was now the principal at MUST. He had a friend who had opportunity, scholarship for a male and female, but at his university, he only had male staff in the water related. So he remember Agustina is there, and he called me, and he gave me that opportunity to go to study. And so I say, okay, and start do the preparation, applied for registration and all that. I was like trying. And then by the time when the scholarship came in, I had a 1 month baby. So you could see how difficult it was for me to decide. But I called the supervisor, but then I was in contact with one of the staff in that university. And I told him, I have a baby and I don't think I can leave her at this moment. Say, oh, you should have told us early. So what is your plan? I think you can wait for a year and then join us later. So he extended the scholarship and say they can wait, give me 1 more year to nurse the baby, and then later on I can join. So a year later, I had to go for a PhD in South Africa. It was quite difficult to leave the baby, but having a very supportive husband, he said, no, you just leave the kids, I'll take care of them. You'll be able to visit, since South Africa was not that far, you could come and visit them. So I had to go and leave the kids. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, but somehow I managed. I had some supportive mechanism. People were there for me and for my kids. And I also, when I went there, I also meet colleagues who were also there who could also understand what I was going through. There was another lady doing the PhD, had kids, and one of them was an autistic child, so he could really relate to the challenge I was facing and all that. So I had people who I could talk to. Yes, so in 2018, I was able to complete my study and came back. So I came back to the university, and the time when I was coming back, it was already they were changing the administration. It's every after 3 years, the university changed. So it was during that time when I came back. And I think there was some delays. So it went until somewhere in November where they appointed the heads of department. Unfortunately, my department, they couldn't appoint the head of department. And the previous head of department was given another position. So I was told to act that position. And during that time, I was pregnant with my third. So I didn't even dream that I could be the head of department, but there I was again acting that position. So when it was time, I had to request for maternity leave and leave the department. So when I was here, I think the baby was not even 2 months, I got a letter to be appointed as the head of department. I knew I was gonna say no. I wanted to have time to stay with the kids. You remember I left the second one with 1 year. So I wanted to have enough time to stay with the kids. But then before I could write a letter, say, no, I can't, I called a previous supervisor of mine, who now again is in another position at the government. And I was telling him, you see, they give me this position, I now have a baby and what, all this complaint that I couldn't. And then he asked me, these people, they didn't know that you were having a baby. No, they did. Actually, they saw me when I was pregnant, and even when I was leaving, I told them. I said, okay, so they believe in you, and there's nothing you should be worried about. Just take the position. If someone shows confidence in you, you shouldn't doubt yourself. Just go for it, and I trust you that you can excel. So yeah, that's where we are now. So I took the position, and somehow I was able this far. I was able to make this far. So that is actually my short journey. But I had ups and downs through. But what I kept in mind is that something might come up to slow you down, but you shouldn't lose your focus and what you aim for. So you have to keep pushing and pushing until you're there, until you're able to get what you wanted. And in any time when you feel like it's end of the road, you need to have people that you look at. So you need to have people. People are the people around you. People who can support you. People can talk some sense to you. People can show you the way through. It's very important to have people around you. People who matters. People who can really help you through. So when I was asked to share my story, I said, well, I'll do that because maybe someone else is facing the same challenges and you wonder whether he can make it. And I want to tell her that he or she shouldn't limit herself, or just because others have limit their imagination that a woman cannot do this, a woman cannot reach far. If their imagination are limited, they shouldn't affect you.
I think, Dr. Agustina, that's such a strong story. A baby at every stage of your studies. I can imagine. Not a mother, but I can imagine. Congratulations. Next in our line, we have Engineer Upendo Haule from TTCL. Engineer Upendo, karibu sana.
My brief story simply starts from primary school, out of which I'm not quite different from other speakers who have spoken before. My story is that I've gone through primary school at a local village, not in town as currently, like we are all staying in town. But my father and mother, they were all farmers, and somehow slightly business, but it was just a small business at home. But during our primary, our dad was the one inspiring us with the studies. And on his side, he was not happy the education system which he went through. That's why he made sure for us we go to school properly, of which the first thing he did was to make sure at home everyone has books, and we do prep at home in the evening. That was a must. It was a timetable. And every day he used, after dinner, we are all supposed to sit at the dining table, everyone with his or her respective books, depending on the class which you are. Then he sits aside. He can just decide to pick anyone at random. Come here with your book. He starts asking, what are you reading? He takes your book. He asks her questions. And he can even keep tracks, like every day, which subjects are you doing? He comes today, you are doing Kiswahili. Tomorrow, Kiswahili. The day after tomorrow, Kiswahili. No. He made sure everyone has timetable. Today is the mathematics, tomorrow is science, the day after tomorrow is Kiswahili, and whatever. So to him, he made sure we all know properly the mathematics. That's why even at home, it is, I just call it a STEM home, because there's a couple of engineers, couple of doctors, and some on finance. But it was more or less a STEM family. But as well, our dad was one of an engineer by default. He didn't go to whatever engineering college, but he kept buying different books. He reads and he practices. And typically he liked electricity. And at our village, by then there was no electricity, but he made sure at home there is electricity. He managed even to buy the generator. He did so he was, but thereafter I went to secondary school, and during this primary now, strictly I was the best in mathematics and mostly other subjects, with which during our time over the district, they were all from Iringa region to join Ruvu Secondary School by then. So I went all the way from Ludewa, the remote area, to join Ruvu secondary schools with other years. After 4 years, our high school by then. Now joining Mkwawa High School, it was a high school with all the combination you name. And by then it was named as a complex, Mkwawa complex. A big gate, you know what, it is just you have to mind your schedules. But to me, the main thing is at Mkwawa, which inspired me, during the orientation, when we went to library, whatever, I was one of the last, all in PGM by then. Which you came here with which class? All of us, it was first class. He said, you came here with your first class. If you don't use this library, you will live here with 0. So he gave us the advice and the challenge, which was one of the inspiration to make sure we keep on studying, as we came with our good grades, and we must live with our good grades. Now from there, I did well and joined Mkwawa High School. No, not Mkwawa again, joined university at electrical. And by then electrical was one of the courses with which the top performers were picked to join electrical. So I did my electrical for 4 years. And during that, I had attended the practical training, the field, at different places, with which all of my training, I was going to telecom companies. So by then, in my mind, I had already picked to be a telecom engineer. But by the time I was joining the university, my intention was to be a computer engineer. But by then, there was no specific course which you can join as a computer engineer. It was only if you join electrical, then through electrical, you can now decide to choose to be on computer or telecom or electrical itself and something like that. But throughout the course, I decided to go telecom. That's why up to now, I'm in telecom. And during the practical training, it was one of which, because I did well on my practical training, they were the ones which suited me for my first job, even my second job, which I am. So the practical training to me was one of the useful tools which helped me to get the job. Then thereafter, joining the first company, from my performance during the practical training, they selected me to be the supervisor on the projects, project manager of the telecom installations, of which we did like this Millennium Towers. The Millennium Tower I did while I was at my first employment job, and I supervised that project on the telecom network. But thereafter, when TTCL announced the employment opportunities, I left that company and joined TTCL company, of which I have been working with different projects since when I joined up to now. And all in all, what I can say, in TTCL, I have migrated from the lower position to the higher position. And throughout this, to me, the main thing was my performance, which made me migrate from one position to another position. And through this movement, I even managed to be selected, to be nominated to be the national project manager of the National IP Backbone, of which is one of the big projects which I have supervised so far. Me, with TTCL, I have moved in different sections since when I joined up to now, and my travel in TTCL has not been that easy. As you can name, staying there for 17 years as just a young graduate until now, there has been ups and downs with the company, and merely which I can share strongly. There was one moment which I was seriously challenged by one of my duty to go and do up country, but I couldn't go because I were not facilitated with tools. And that boss decided to report me to the managing director. But when he reported me to the managing director, message which he sent to me, copying our director. But basically I responded technically because I couldn't go for a reason. And one of which the main reason was I have no tools. How can I go to site to perform? Not just to travel to make sure people are just happy like you have traveled to go to site. But I made sure that the company facilitates me so that when I travel up country to do the job, I can do the job efficiently so long as I have the tools. So through this, at least I made a mark like engineers should be given tools so that we can perform. But thereafter, we kept on different duties. And through these different duties, I'm sure I'm sure through all these duties, my performance was noted. That's why through my performance, I was nominated to be the project manager of the National IP Backbone. But with this project now, also during that nomination, some other challenges came because I was from the planning section. Then I was nominated to be to supervise straight the project while I was not on the project. Now the project team came up, rising up, like, why this engineer from the planning be nominated to do the project while we are there doing the project? They even went all the way to the managing director, claiming that I don't deserve. But to me, the management knew my capability, and still they kept me on that nomination. And to me, on my side, I said, for the God's grace, I have to show that I am capable to pursue and do this job which they have given me, no matter how big it is, but still I can make it. And for sure I did it. That's why until now, myself, I'm proud of it. And even the country by itself, everywhere we go, we hear the national ICT backbone is the one facilitating the entire country. But behind it, it was me who managed the project to be up and running up today. But throughout this, not only being on TTCL managing the project, but as well, I was the technical advisor at the ministry for the same project. For the sense that in this project, there were vendors who were subjected to deliver this project. There were some technical issues, out of which behind it, there has to be the technical team from the military side going through with the contractors who are delivering the project. So we were there as the mediators between the government and the project contractor. Until the end of the project, we commissioned the project, which is up to now currently running. And not only the national backbone, as well, we have been hearing the national data center. The national data center as well, I was the project manager because it was part of the national backbone. So after we finished the national backbone, the other part was the building the national data center, which is currently running, storing the data from different companies and government entities. As well, I managed it on the project-wise until we commissioned it, and up to now it is currently running. And partly some other phases which were not done, I think they are going to be done this time, of which there was supposed to be another data center in Zanzibar and another one in Dodoma and Mwanza. So with this on technical career, that's how far I have gone. But after finishing these projects, by now I'm doing the national network performance in TTCL. And with this network performance, it is the entire network over the country. So I'm managing the performance of the network country-wise. But together with this, I have been a member in IET and ERB. And with IET, there is a chapter, the Women Engineers chapter, with which since when I joined, I have been there as a committee member. And this year, I have been nominated as a chairperson for the chapter. And currently, I'm running it. And we are handling different activities, of which one of them is mentoring students, the university students and the secondary school students. And we are having some of our workshops and conferences, with which even this July 30th will be having one of our workshop here in Dar es Salaam, which will host almost all the women engineers in Tanzania, and some other special guests will be invited to the workshop. And throughout my career development, but still I have managed to be a mom of 2 kids, which I am their mom, and I thank God for all the grace which He has granted me. And as well, I thank God for giving me the opportunity and the power to inspire different women engineers and fellow students. Thank you.
For us to open floor for questions from the audience to our panelists. I think there was some question already posted in the chat list. Maybe we can start again with Dr. Agustina, there's a question from Hilda, who is asking, she would like to know that before you started your master studies, did you already attain your professional engineering registration? And how did it take you to be a PE then? Any challenges? Dr. Agustina, karibu.
Asante. Hilda, thank you very much for your question. And I think I should be able to relate to some of you. As I said, immediately after my bachelor degree, I joined masters. I started doing my master. So I didn't have time to do any profession training. I know I get a chance to do SIP at the Mowasa, Morogoro Urban Water Supply and Sanitation. But since I was joining, I was going to do my master's, so I had to quit. So during my master's, I started assisting some of the lecturers who were doing the consultants through BICO at the university. We have our Bureau for Industrial Cooperation, which is basically a consultants firm. So I was assisting. When I spoke to Engineer Balozi about it, he connected me to another firm. I think it was Lamea, to see if I can get some experience. So I started volunteering in some of the company, but he also gave me an idea that you can volunteer in any other company and gain some experience. So I volunteered in another company, it's called Mwandisi, so that's to get site experience and all that. So I was doing my master's, but I knew I needed to do more, so to be registered. So at part-time, I was still practicing, even volunteering in some of the firms. And again, since after doing my PhD, is when I came filing the reports and submitting.
I would like to direct a question to Engineer Upendo that goes like, how difficult was it for you to break into the job market? Engineer Upendo. Please unmute. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. At first, I would say, to me, it was not difficult to break into job market. And as I stated before, I had some reasons why it wasn't that difficult to me to venture into job market, with which by then, first of all, there were not so much graduates in the market, and the job availability was not that stiff. So that's why at first, the place where I went for my training, it was the one to go and look for a job. And because they knew me with the reference to my deliverables, it wasn't difficult for them to accept me. And through that one, I still kept on going. And the main reason is because at first, I had already defined my path in telecom. So I went to the first company I went is the one which I did my practical training. They took me. Then thereafter, I went for TTCL. But how did I get TTCL? Again, it was the same story. It was the place where I went for my practical training. And also, they knew me. And I went to the same section which I had attended practical training. The job was advertised. I applied, went for job interview, I got it. With which, from there, I have been there, just moving from one section to another section, delivering this job, delivering another job. So until now, I have been at the same place. But what to myself is like, what had mentored me to still keep on being there, or what had mentored me to still to go in telecom? As I stated before, the first attempt, the first mentorship is from our dad, because he was the one mentoring us in telecom. he was so anxious, but on on his side, it was in electrical. But on mine, I just decided, no, I'm not doing electrical. I was just scared of the electricity, even if I did electrical engineering. So my side said, okay, in telecom, it is the light electrical. Then I go for telecom. But through that, how did I now kept on growing? Imagine when you come from the university, you are not that much equipped. So personally, I had my personal initiative of training. I had even paid for my personal trainings, some courses which were advertised, whether in the media or something like that. But still, there were other trainings which were being given at the company. Say like maybe if there is a new system which has been deployed, we are subjected for training. But from there, still, my work and the deliverables was the one which kept on selling me. Like this one is valuable, this one is valuable. That's why even when the internally there were some advertisement like there's this post, there's this post, I feel like, oh, I can apply this post. But when I apply, because they know me, my performance, that's why I managed to be just a normal engineer to supervisor to assistant manager, project and everything. All this I had managed because of my performance. I know these positions when they were advertised, not only me, there were other people who as well were applying. But why I normally used to image as a winner, why I were selected, my belief is this was due to my delivered performance. And not only the performance, even the commitment to work. Because sometimes, yes, we are given the work, but yes, I'm in the government company. We all know that when the time is up, it's time to go home. But in my desk, I find I'm not done with my duties. I'm supposed to finish. I say I finish my duty even overtime, but still, do I go to my boss and claim for overtime? Or I deliver the duty because it is my duty to finish whatever I was given to. Mostly, I deliver my duty, I submit, I'm done. Even sometimes my boss keep coming to me like, Upendo, you said up to this time, you posted this email very late hours. Why don't you ask for the overtime? Okay, but because my boss comes to me, I go back and apply for the overtime. But my main intention was not to get the overtime. My main intention normally used to be, I have to finish whatever my boss has told me to do. But not only that, another thing is readiness to learn. Because when we are at work, sometimes, yes, we are all human. We all sometimes mess up. But even your colleague can come to you and tell you like, this thing, you didn't do it properly. You better do it this way, this way, this way. Then everything can be fine. So to me, I'm sure whenever whoever comes to me like, Upendo, this is not proper. Maybe you do it this way, you do it this way. I take it, think of it. If it works, I do. So to be flexible on learning from the team members. The teamwork is the key. So when the team members come, or one of the member comes to you, this thing is not clear. Can you do it this way? Can you do it this way? Or can we push it in this way? Then things kept moving. But together with that, to me, for example, I have done my initiative, my personal initiative on learning something. But through this, and because we are supposed to deliver as a team, even sometimes I call the team and share them the knowledge which I have acquired. So from there, even the entire team gets equipped with the knowledge. But not only that, like sometimes, normally in our company, we used to give all the work to the contractors to do. But when it comes a moment like, this is just a simple job, why can't we send just our engineer and do it instead of giving the contractor to do it? With that, company-wise, it means there's some capital we are saving, because when we give it to a contractor, they'll quote it at whatever price they quote. But the engineer is normally there, is working his normal duties, just going to site, maybe to fix just a small thing, or just to redo something very minor. But with this, I had managed to equip my colleagues, and up to now, that thing is being employed. You find diesel engineer is going to fix some stuff at site, while before it wasn't like that. But On top of that, and all in all, making sure the quality of work which is delivered is at the good quality, which has been designed and has to make sure that it is the one implemented accordingly. So when we stand up and as a team to make sure everything is implemented accordingly is one of the key of the success. So to me, to be successful all this way is together and accompanied with the quality of work which I have been delivering, of which I would even inspire and urge to all engineers and architects and whoever in the industry to make sure we deliver the work at the quality which has been designed and must be met accordingly. And on top of that, on the women chapter, I go back again. The women chapter is the one mobilizing the women engineers. But through this mobilization of the women engineers, we are sharing knowledge in different criteria, depending with the theme of the different events which we are having. But through sharing these knowledges, in one way or the other, everyone gets equipped. But together with this, we are sharing experience. When we are going for exhibition, for example, there are different women coming up with whatever their projects, whatever works they are doing. They are coming to show to other engineers. Like at my company, we are doing 1, 2, 3, 4. As women engineers, this is what we deliver. As women engineers, this is what we deliver. Oh, me, myself, as women engineer, I have ventured and tried myself to make sure maybe I have my own company running in this way. I have managed to employ 1, 2, 3, 4 other engineers. So together with this, it is all about motivating the women engineers and the rest in the ground to make sure the works is delivered accordingly and at a good quality. And with this, all of us, we are inspired and we are motivated to make sure the works which we are doing is delivered accordingly. Thank you.
For such an insightful response. Yes, with everyone in our dialogue today, we see your questions and we are our presenters are eager to answer all of them. So stay put, just fasten your belt. And so we go to Dr. Juliana. Before we go to the audience in the chat, let's just ask you, what is your advice to our female graduates who have not found a job yet? What do they need to do in order to stand out and get a job, especially in this era, which seems to be quite different from, let's say, your era? Yes.
Oh,
thank you.
Thank you very much, moderator. This question has two parts. The first one is advice to our female engineering graduates who have not found a job yet, and also what do they need in order to stand out. The first one, part A, finding a job for female graduates. My advice to you young girls, female graduates, first thing and the foremost thing, you have to register as graduate engineers with the Engineers Registration Board. That is the very first move for you to go further, because this will enable you to have network and job search in engineering companies within the country, so that you can have a credibility of being a professional engineer in 3 years' time, whether you are employed or not, or as a volunteer in any institution. In my time, it was a little bit difficult because sometimes you're out of the city Dar es Salaam where the board was stationed, but now the board has everywhere, every region, their representatives. So you can go there, register yourself as graduate engineer so that you have the opportunity to have a good network. From this, you will be able to attend seminars which are offered by the board and other opportunities given within the board. And advantages are that you will gain experience, job opportunities are advertised there. There are also volunteer jobs offered, and you will expand your networking. Because after you become a professional engineer, then you can sell for yourself easily. There is a program, you say you can enroll in a SIP program. This SIP is Structural Apprenticeship, the Engineers Apprenticeship Program, which is just like an internship for doctors. And this can be also sponsored by the World Bank, Ministry of Education, and Norway, the government of Norway. Whereas you get a training allowance if you are not employed. And you'll have a supervisor, a professional engineer, who will guide you accordingly, so that by the end of 3 years, you became a professional engineer. Whether you are working in any other institution or private sector. To me, this is very, very good and essential, because in my time, being professional engineer was not important, I would say, for me. And it is because I was employed by TANESCO. I got the job. I was working as an engineer. I thought professional engineering doesn't matter. And there were plenty of big bosses also who didn't have professional engineering. But then it was a need through the board that every engineer supervising a project has to be a professional engineer, whether you have done it or not. But now it was a must. I'm telling the truth. I stayed 7 years as graduate engineer. That was very bad. I wouldn't suggest or recommend anyone to do that. It was because of the need for TANESCO. That's when I had to write the report. And because I had already done many projects within the TANESCO establishment, then I got the professional engineer. Also, there are other search engines for jobs. The government adverts, you have to look. There is also Zoom Tanzania, their job advertised there. You have to look for newspapers, CareerJet, LinkedIn, and many others. I heard a story of a young boy who came to visit me. He said, "Madam, you know, when I applied a job, I started by writing 150 applications." I said, "What? 150 applications?" About 5 years ago, he told me. He said, "Because I've tried so much to ask, I got nothing. So I decided 100 letters I wrote within the country, 50 letters I wrote outside the country, seeking jobs elsewhere. But you know what? I got only 5 replies out of 150 applications. And out of these 5, 1 is where I'm working now. I work with Bill Gates Foundation in Nairobi. So young girls, don't despair. You just send 210 letters, then you say, there is nothing. I can't get a job. No, determination is a must. And for those who are interested in self-employment, a need is that you have to start early. You don't have to finish at the end, then you are thinking of venturing into self-employment. You have to have a proper way. It means you have to have a plan. I am going to be self-employed. Build up the team, because working alone, you want to go further. Build a team by looking for your teammates whom you think you will match. You have common interests. Look from other disciplines, because you can't have a company without somebody, even if it is outsourced. HR who can guide you somehow what to do, a finance guy who can shape your things. Yeah, you need somebody, but build a team with people you are likely to work properly, to work successfully. And as a self-employed, you have to have a lot of qualities. You have to be focused, disciplined, commitment, and believe in yourself. Otherwise, it will be very difficult. As I said, decide on the team, know each other, and you can even volunteer to a certain company if you want to have experience of such an area where you want as alone to work on it. Don't enclose yourself as an electrical engineer alone. Maybe you need some other addition qualities like IT. You have to do many short courses. Yeah. And if you have that will to do that, there are plenty of areas where you can go for further maybe to help you. There are banks, if you have really a good position, banks do help a lot. There are other institutions also which help a lot. That is for the jobs. On the B part, they need to be in order to stand out and get a job. My dear female graduates, I advise you, follow your desire and dream of where you want to do, or to work, or to employ, or to self-employment. That desired dream has to come from you alone. Make sure when you join an entity, you should do the best as to grow internally and externally. Some people, they focus all on work and forget the other side. There are a lot of opportunities. That's why for the case of myself, where I am very keen and I like to do the job to my best, but there sometimes you do the best, but you have a lot of, not enemies, I can't say enemies, but yeah, there are a lot of disappointments also during work. So you have to have another eye somewhere. In case this fails, I'll do this. In case this, I always work like that. You have to have other opportunities. Don't stick on when something falls apart, you're finished. It means learn a lot, inquire a lot, look for a lot, ask a lot, seek, knock, check to balance your life. And for you, when you are called for an interview, for example, make sure you know thoroughly the work you're going to do there. Acquire to know the company well, which you want to work with. And look if there are needs there, if you'll be a solution to that. So that at least you will look unique and that they will take you. Your resume should always match the job required. If you are not fit, don't waste your time. Make sure all the credentials are there. You know, I studied in German, I said, in Germans, they say they need quality and not quantity. So if it's quality, everything should be adhered to. Show that you are the most needed person in that company when interviews are concerned. This will make you a possible candidate to be selected. Make a difference of being the best to the interviewer who interviews you. Have great confidence and don't hesitate to ask any question if you didn't understand anything. Don't answer randomly. Listen, ask, repeat. It's acceptable. And if you have a chance, the panel asks you, can you ask us a question? Always, and remember, utilize that chance and ask a question which will favor you more than others. ask something which they will attract. You will attract them to say, yes, this is the most, we need this, we need her, do that. And when you get a job, do it to the best of your knowledge. Or if you are self-employed, provide quality service to market yourself. Continuous learning is very essential. You should know your strengths and limitation so that you can adjust in your environment or workplace. I repeat again, seek, ask, knock, and you'll find an answer. I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much. I hope you all take it. Seek, ask, knock. You get the answer. That's from Dr. Juliana Palang. Thank you very much, Dr. Juliana. And just to maybe wind up, she has emphasized the importance of registration, and I can see that from Nuru Nyangete as well. Very experienced architect. So for us, graduate architects, let's not stay long in the field without seeking our formal registration in respective boards. To carry on to the next question, Dr. Victoria, what advice do you give our female graduates in engineering, architecture, urban planning, and other construction-related fields who are thinking of not pursuing careers in the construction industry for one reason or the other? Somebody has stayed long without a job or has seen something else of interest, probably different from what they have studied or majored in the construction industry. What advice do you give us? Karibu, Doctor.
All right, thank you, Siti. Well, I would say leaving architecture or leaving in engineering to do something else is not a bad thing. But what matters here is, why are you leaving? Because if you are leaving because you find, oh, architecture is hard, or maybe you think, oh, where you are now, where you're working is a very poor environment, is not supportive for you, and you feel like, this architecture is not for me. Or maybe you're afraid of gender roles, where you have to balance, you have children, you have to balance long working hours, you find that is not for you. Or any other reason, or sometimes you're following your passion. You find, okay, I've been in architecture for a while and I feel like this is not what I want to do. Maybe since I was a young girl, I wanted to do something else. So I think what matters here is, why do you want to move to a different career than whatever you're doing in the construction industry? But all I can say is, sometimes you find you're starting your career in an environment where you may not be very supportive the way you expect, or sometimes your contribution is undervalued and you feel like you're not contributing anything to the place that you are in now. All I can say is, it's not the end of the world. Like Dr. Juliana said, you are there, so just do your best and try to tap as much as you can in that situation that you're in, instead of quitting. And to be honest, if you're changing your career because of the challenges that you face in the construction industry, it's very likely you will face more challenges, or more or less the same to wherever you're going. So that, I think, moving to a different direction because of the challenges may not be a good thing. Because when you look at architecture, it takes time for you to be on the spotlight. It's not something that you can, as soon as you start your career, people will know who you are and what you're doing and all that. It's a ladder that you need to climb from the bottom up, and it takes time. Or another way of looking at architecture or engineering is like a marathon. The longer you can run and the longer you can spend time on the field, I think that is the time that you can build portfolio, and people will know you and they will find out you're a person that's more reliable, they can trust you, they can work with you. So let's not jump into something else because you felt there's some challenges that are maybe you don't want to face at that time, because where you're going, you may not know exactly what you're going to face. But if you're changing your career because of your passion, now you go to a point you feel like, okay, I've achieved a number of things that I wanted to achieve in the construction industry, and I'm now ready to pursue my passion. I would say you go for it. And if you look back at the training in architecture, it trains you to be able to master in so many other things. That skill set that you get in the 5 years or the 4 years in engineering, it also shapes you to do any other thing that you want to do. So if it's a point that you're following your passion, I think that is a good thing to do. And I will advise that person, just go for it. So whatever the case may be, before you start jumping into another direction, like I mentioned in my journey, when I was doing my PhD, I got to a point I felt like I've had enough in architecture. Well, I haven't really do like masterpiece in the country, but at that time I was able to participate in the team that designed Vice President's office and residence in Zanzibar. I was part of the team that designed Nelson Mandela University Science and Technology, Institute of Science and Technology. So we did the rehabilitation. So for me, I felt like, okay, I've achieved what I wanted, and I wanted to do something. So you want to change direction that way, just talk to your mentor, talk to your family, talk to your husband. And because you don't know, because you're jumping into something else, you may fall. You need that cushion back. You need somebody who will support you and show you different ways on how you can achieve what you want to do. So discuss with people and the mentor that you trust. That this is why we stress, or we put more strength in this program, that once you have your mentor, luckily these days you have a structured program and you're being attached with a stranger, but for 2 years she's not a stranger anymore to you. So hold on to that person. Ask as many questions as you can. You face challenges outside your career, talk to that person first. So they will help you see things differently. And then you can make your choice that, okay, you want to turn into different direction rather than construction industry, or maybe you will change your mind, or whatever the case may be. But I think just have discussions with people you trust, and then decide on what you want to do based on the reasons that you have, and the one I mentioned before. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Victoria. So the main reason, the basis for your change should be the reason as to why you really want to change or not to pursue what you think you should pursue in relation to construction industry. Dr. Agustina, back to you. What do you think is the root problem that results in few women working in the construction industry?
Well, when I look at the big picture of why we have very few women in this industry, looking back at the catchments, do we have what the percent of male and female for people who are doing STEM or subject that would let you to work in construction industry. So I'll start by saying we have very few people in the, very few women in this area who have been trained to work in construction industry. And the reason could be, start from the roots, could be from the family level, the community, the perception that is there, where they think women are not meant to do all this difficult work, if I may term them difficult. So from a very young age, women are being discouraged to do, to take science subjects that would read you to be an architect, to be an engineer, or QS in that manner. So the communities have built this perception that at the end of the day, it also affects the confidence of young girls for them to want to pursue such kind of professions. So from the very young age, you could see mama yako anakuambia, why do you want to do this? You're going to fail. So they're being discouraged from a very young age. But also there are issues like lack of role model. You could see me, Victoria was saying, at a very young age, she wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a doctor because that's the noble profession that I would see. I knew what the doctor do. So if you don't have a role model that you look up to, as a young girl, I want to be Dr. Juliana because I already see her. I know what she do. I know the path she took, and then it's easy for me to take the same path rather than when you don't know anyone who has excelled in that area. So at a young age, when you hear an engineer is only a male version of engineer that you think of, and you wonder whether you have a position in that area. So I think that could be also one of the reasons, but also biological challenges that women undergo, and therefore maybe even the attendance at school is being affected. So we have all that surround women that, but most maybe I want to discuss when they are already done their degrees, maybe as an engineer or an architect or QS. We have seen that quite a good number of women, they later on channel to another field, so they don't really practice the engineering or architecture after graduating. And that's the worrying part, because we already have a very low percent. It's normal. I mean, there's the women who are doing this, who are taking degrees in these areas, they're not above 30%. We're already working there. Of course, we have make a big step. Back then it was only less than 5, but now at least we are there 27 to 30%. They don't, they later on drop and go for another career. That's it's something that we should look much into. Why they don't stay, why they don't work as in this field. So I'm trying to see the challenge that we, maybe even some of us, have faced. And you need to be strong enough to survive in a male-dominated kind of field. Yeah, we have more than 7% in the field as male. So most of the things, the way they design, the way they think, the way they run things, it's a male culture. And sometimes women may feel like left out. So some of them, they find it difficult to channel or to cross into that kind of environment. But also the kind of work that we do in some of the fields are not friendly to our life cycle. You see, when your career graph is peaking, your biological graph is going down. So you need to kind of like balance, yeah? Because you need to have kids at that very productive age. And it's that age that your career is going up. That's everyone is looking whether you have something to offer to the department. So when you start asking for maternity leave, and then this is that, some of the people might start thinking, oh, maybe we make a wrong choice. Oh, you are supposed to be in the field when you're pregnant, and pregnant comes in different ways. Some are easy, some are tough. So it's quite challenging for female, and some of them will just drop out. So that could also lack one of the things. But when you go to a male-dominated kind of field, there's some lacking confidence. You're going to a panel and you're the only woman in that panel. So you don't have even enough confidence to air out your opinions and all that. And some of the people, they feel like if they can't speak, and therefore they feel like they're redundant, they're not needed in the company. So their confidence goes down, and therefore even their performance. If you're not confident in what you're doing, your performance will go down. So those are most of the challenges that I think they affect, and that's why people try end up dropping after they have graduated and channel to another profession. Some go back to do management or even go to the business. So to me, I would like to encourage the young girls and women in this area. First of all, they shouldn't be worried that there's a very small number of women. Because me, the most important thing that motivated me to be an engineer, I wanted to close that gap. So I wanted to be able to show people that even women can do this. Yeah? When you say that women are only meant for subjects that mostly maybe memorizing and citing, I was so poor in that. I couldn't do well in history and civics. I remember in debates, people didn't like me to be in their side because I couldn't remember names, I couldn't remember years. So that is not true. It's just the perception that people have put around, and we are made to believe that we are not good at this, but we are. I've had colleagues who would rather have employ a female engineer or a female architect, because they believe one of the important advantage that they see in women is like we can settle. So they're gonna have that continuity in work. But male, the moment another opportunity, kuna mshahara umeongezeka hapo, even if it's 200,000, they're gone. But women, we tend like settling. So we have things that work at our advantage. We shouldn't feel like we cannot excel in this field. We are women, we are good in reporting. So it's good that we know our strength, where we do best, and use that. Dr. Juliana was talking about when you go to an interview, you need to be able to show that one thing that the company needs from you. So you should be able to show that, yeah, you have something extra that they need. Yeah. So that someone will say, okay, at some point I'll need to sign a 3-month maternity for this lady. But looking on how you perform and the possibility that you settle there for quite some time and say, I would rather go with this because she has all it takes, even if she won't be around for 3 months or more, I can still, she can stay competent that time when she's back. So we need to be able to see, look at yourself and see what exactly can we offer that male really maybe in that one. And therefore, change that perception that is there. So even when we are given the opportunity, let's not make our family responsibility and the biological issues around us be the reason to jeopardize our work or jeopardize the quality of what we are doing. Let us try and see that and change their perception. We can only change them by showing them that we can actually do better than them. Despite all the challenge that we have, we can still do better than them. And I'm telling you, they'll be the one acknowledging that, and they'll be the one changing and prefer having more women in the industry. So even for those who are still feel like they are left out or they don't fit in this field, that's why there's a program like this, where you attach to mentors. In our age, I don't know, we couldn't find mentors. Most of them, they are male. So some of them, you couldn't speak to them openly. But now there's a good number of women whom we can talk to and get the guidance. So yes, the number will still be low, but we need to work out and make sure that we match up with them. If at all we want to change the world and how it's going. We are talking about the 4th Industrial Revolution. If you want it to have an impact on community and the life of everyone, women need to be on board. And being on board means to balance the numbers in all the fields so that we can what we bring the inclusive development. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Agustina. So let's not let our biological part be a reason to jeopardize our abilities in the construction industry. as we've heard from her, we can do it. We have to change the perception. It's a societal construct that can only be changed by women doing better in what they're doing. So I know we were supposed to end up at 6, but I see the discussion has been very hot, and I hope everyone is enjoying. So if you allow me, I'm going to go through some few questions that have been in our chat. We'll try to skip those which have already been answered by our panelists and touch those which have not been. So panelists, just be ready for any of the questions that are coming from our chat. So this one is from Engineer Valeria Quinero. She's asking, with the requirement for job experience these days in most of the job application, is it a wise choice to keep on pursuing, let's say, a PhD? Is it a wise idea to continue pursuing a PhD, let's say, considering the requirements for job experience in today's market? So please, any of our panelists? Maybe we can say those who, yes, thank you, Dr. Juliana, please.
Yeah, it is not a must. It is not a must, because if you are also over educated, it's somehow also difficult to get a job. It was, oh, she's a doctor. How much are we going to pay? We have. So it doesn't matter. If you have that chance to go up to doctor level, do it. But that's not a criteria that if you're a doctor, then you can get a job easily now. Yeah.
Dr. Victoria, do you have an opinion over that?
Yeah, maybe to add to that, it all depends on what do you want to do after you finish your school. Because if your intention is to be in academia, for example, yes, you have to have a PhD. But if you want to be a consulting engineer or consulting architect, you may find maybe you don't need to go there. So I think it depends on the direction that you want to take. And yes, being a doctor so-and-so, some people may stay far away from you and feel like, we can't help her, we can't pay. But also can also be advantageous to you. If you're interested in doing research, if you're interested maybe to write and publish and all that, so that is the training you get when you go for your PhD. So it all depends. No like a clear path for that.
Thank you. Again, from Engineer Valeria, she says she's noticed from the talk that most of, or it seems, keeping good contact with your supervisor, it's a key. It's a key to the success. So it's something also that people lack nowadays. So she's asking on advice on how should we keep communication with our supervisors. Maybe I direct this question to Engineer Upendo, since I see from her training, she's been going back to where she's been conducting her practical training from university. She's been able to manage that contact from where she was till where she is now. So Engineer Upendo, how do you advise us to keep contact with our supervisors and our, let's say, supervisors in the practical training sessions?
To me, what I would say is how to keep contact with our supervisors. We are supposed to keep the good contact in a way that during that training is where you are now starting to market yourself. Sometimes your supervisor can even harass you in a way like you would even feel like nimjibu kwa hasira, but just calm down. Yes, sometimes in like nikiongele kwa Kiswahili, I'm sorry if there's those who doesn't understand Kiswahili. Yes, in the industry, sometimes someone is harassing you yani kwenye delivery ya kazi ya kawaida kabisa. You have done something very normal in a very normal way, but either hayuko impressed na kile ulichofanya, anaweza kukujibu in such a way ukajiona unakuwa embarrassed versus wale colleagues wengine ambao unakuwa nao. To me, you can just respond humbly, kwa sababu when you are humble in one way or the other, hata akigeuka anaweza mwenyewe akaenda kujiuliza kwamba hivi nilivyomjibu huyu, is it right? Nimekosea. Lakini bado huyu mtu hajanijibu harshly kama vile mimi ambavyo nimemwongelesha. So tu mimi ambavyo nimeweza kusema, cha kwanza tuweze kujibu humbly, na hata kama kitu alichokwambia labda yeye either hajaelewa, ona tu ni namna gani unaweza kumwelewesha akaelewa. Lakini yeye kama amekuja yuko rude, don't respond in a rude way. Just respond in a positive way, aweze kuelewa na kuona what you have done is the right way. Na through that ataanza kuona value ya uwepo wako wewe pale. Even tomorrow when you come back, if he is still there, he could be the one to defend for you, na kuweza kudescribe kwamba huyu niliweza kumruin this way, this way, this way, lakini bado aliendelea kukaa kwenye mstari. Na mtu mwingine anaweza kukuruin for a purpose, akuone how strong you can be kusimamia hoja yako. Kwa sababu kama unajua kabisa kwamba this is the principle, this is how it is supposed to be, yeye anaweza kaamua tu makusudi kukupindisha ili aone how firm are you. That's it.
Thank you very much. And I think that answers your question also, Engineer Domina Jacob, that you wanted to know when you come across such a challenge, how do you address it? Asante sana, Engineer Upendo. From the questions in the chat list, I think most of the questions have been addressed since they are all targeting the question on how to search or to hunt for jobs in today's market. And I believe the audience has heard from our panelists. Mostly I'm seeing very beautiful comments. Thank you very much, everyone, for participating. Just if you allow me, panelists, if any of us, or I mean, sorry, any of you, our key speakers, have a last advice to us young or graduate architects and everybody in the team. Any other advice before we wrap up and call it a successful session? I welcome anyone, our panelists.
Okay, moderator, thank you very much. I have an advice for the young girls and young engineers. That my advice to you, among other things, don't be afraid of failures at the beginning of your journey to success. It should not stop you from pursuing further to achieve your aspired goals. Utilize your failures and turn them into opportunity in life. That is my advice.
Dr. Victoria?
Thank you. So my advice, we've had the challenges that we went through to get to where we are now. So my advice is get a supportive husband if you're not married. Because I'm sure you will need that, because when you leave your baby behind, 1 year old, my son was 1 year old when I went for my master's degree. It's because my husband was very supportive and he was ready to take care of the baby. So for young ones, while you are selecting right now, try to see, is this guy very supportive, or is that the person who will tell you, oh, just stay home and take care of the child? So you need to make up your mind now before you tie the knot. And another thing, I think you have your mentor, like I said before, hold on to your mentor. And you don't need to have just one mentor. The way I told my story is you can have as many mentors as possible, and they will shape you in different ways. So different levels you're going, different places, try to get somebody who will hold your hand and take you through the challenges that you may be going through. And another thing for us women, professionals, I think we need to create a support system that we help each other. Because there are some places you may go, you'll find our fellow women are the one who wants to take you down. And they may not support you in what you want to do. Even men, there's some men out there may not be very supportive, although there are men who are extremely supportive of, they're happy to see a woman excel. So let's create a support system that we can lift each other up and celebrate our success. So like this program that we are running is one way we feel like, let's bring in people who are out there and we didn't even know they exist to come and talk to us, and we celebrate our role models. So I think this is the culture we should build in architecture, in engineering, in urban planning, and in wherever we are. Thanks.
Thank you. Engineer Upendo, any closing remarks?
To me, at first, I would like to advise young graduates, those who are seeking for a job. Nowadays, the market is so stiff. We better be creative. It's either you look for employment or you find a way on how to employ yourself. And even to be employed nowadays is quite difficult because each company is complaining on the financial status. But some companies are offering the positions for volunteering. So to me, I would advise if you find any company asking for whoever are able to volunteer, just grab it because that would be your best chance to get employed in the future. And even if some companies are not advertising, but you might just be taken your own initiative and go ask for a volunteering job. Secondly, yani hii niiweke kwa Kiswahili vizuri, rushwa ya ngono ipo sana tunapotafuta kazi. So please be keen, stand, yani simama kwa miguu yako miwili, look for job kwa miguu yako miwili. Usiende kwenye mguu ambao utakuangusha kesho. That will ruin your entire life. So please be confident, stand firm. God will be there for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Agustina?
Well, so for me, I don't know, being academicians, the first thing I would like to tell the girls, keep yourself abreast of the new knowledge, new technology. We are going to the fourth industrial era. So things are changing so quickly. So if you are out for 3 years looking for a job, things would have might have changed. And the software, new software that are coming. So keep yourself informed what is going on, new technology or anything that advances you in your career. It's very key, yeah? So it's good thing that people like you giving some dialogue like this where you get some information, but there's so many that are going on the webinar that are being called for free. So take time, and in anything that you attend, you're going to be getting something new that you didn't know, or even you are being reminded of something that maybe you thought it's not of that important. So it's key to keep yourself updated. The second thing in job hunting, you know, when you're looking for a job, the first thing that an employer sees is your CV. So make sure your CV serves you well. So it's important when you see there's a call where they're teaching how to write your CV and how to improve your CV. Every day you should be able to improve yourself. The CV is key, and probably you've had a number of training on how to write your CV. So it's important that your CV serves you well. And even the ritual activity that you've done during your studies in the college, those ones are very key. How you attended to it. That is, all those things should be seen in the CV. We are saying most of the job we are looking for experience, but our training also allow you to experience the jobs in construction industry when you go for practical training. So make sure your CV have all that, and so that it can serve you well. And another thing was an issue of having the supportive system. I see Dr. Marwa has talked about it, but the supporting system could be in so many ways. Yeah, I think we've heard about us having supportive ads, but that is one of the supportive system. But some of us are working even 6 days a week. Sometimes you go at work from morning and come back very late. So you need to have people who support you at home. Wale wadada wa kazi, they're very key and they're very important. So let's don't kill ourselves. Let's have people support ourselves, whether it's our family members or even girlfriends that will support you. So in everything, we want to do all, but we need to have something to support us. Kuna wakati hapa nchini Upendo hajasema tu unaweza ukaitwa site na una mtoto mdogo unaitwa site jioni. If you have a nanny who maybe anakuja asubuhi na kuondoka, what are you going to do? Unaambiwa huko unaita nini Mkongo sijui nini umeanguka. So people they don't get internet or they can't make a phone call. Huwezi sema unajua sina dada so siwezi toka na mtoto. So let's make sure that we have a supportive system that will make us do our job and do it well. So it's from the partners that we have. You have a friend. When things turn from bad to worse, unaweza ukabeba watoto wako ukawadampa pale ukamwambia leo my friends you are going to babysit because I have to rescue a certain situation. So and as you go up, the bad thing about us, unavyoenda in a very big position, you become so lonely if you don't have people. Watu ndo mtaji wako. So make sure you have people around you, and every time you meet people, make sure you give a good impression. I mean, you express yourself very well so that kesho na kesho kutwa when someone here an opportunity, remember that girl. Oh, that girl. Oh, maybe she can do better in this. Maybe she can help in this way. So have people around you and make your first impression when you meet people is very key. So I think that's all for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Well, just to wrap up, thank you very much, everyone, for joining in on our 8th dialogue. I think it has been very fruitful to hear from all the members. So many food for thought, so many points to take home. I believe hard work, perseverance, focus. There is no easy way up. You have to work. For us who are still graduates, look for your registration. And also, most importantly, a very supportive cycle. Partners, Gloria, Johanna, Joyce, Saidi, I hope you're hearing us. Look for supportive partners. Okay.
Maybe sorry
yes?
to
No,
we haven't had anything from the audience, and
yes.
we read the questions. If they have burning questions, maybe they want to ask. Yes. We can do it before.
Most of the questions we've had are from the chat, so we are opening now the floor for participants of this dialogue from the audience now to ask questions that you think it hasn't been addressed through your audio. So you can, if your video is off, please turn on your video and ask a question. This is our time, the floor. And after that, I think Dr. Victoria will take a group photo. So we'll ask everyone to turn on their camera. So the audience, please, questions, comments, because this is not our last dialogue, hopefully. Our program intends to go till September 2021. So we are looking forward for more dialogues each month, I believe. So if you have any comments, wrap-up comments, or anything, this is the time. We'll give it 5 minutes. Anyone from the audience? Are we all satisfied, feeling happy? Has the session been fruitful as expected? Okay, I believe that's it. We were quiet. I really hope it has been, because I see the comments from the chat that people are very grateful and thankful for the session. So if we have everybody on board, can we please switch on our cameras for a group photo? Please switch on your cameras and turn off your mics. Mute, switch on camera, mute. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
At least we get to see your faces now.
Yes, I think we
Because
know.
we're through the screen.
Yeah, thank you. Oppo, Sayuni, Beatrice, Engineer Onesta. Everyone. Elizabeth. Alexander Rossi.
All right, smile.
Say cheers.
Bye. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye. Bye.
All right,
Yeah.
get the photos, and yeah, thank you so much for logging in.